Please welcome our guests today, Melissa Robinson-Winemiller and Sue Tinnish on The Experience.
Welcome to The Experience, live with Russ and Scott.
Join us every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook.
The Experience is made possible by these great sponsors. The Aspects of Aging weekly talk show. Unscripted conversations with experts. Each week, hosted by Christine Smith on AgingBetterNetwork.com. The Jalad Home Team. Keller Williams Realty Mid-Willamette. 541-451-2211. TeamJalat.com. Realistic Replicas. Transforming metal into living art. RealisticReplicas.com.
Good morning,
Hey.
everybody. Woohoo! Here we are, live on The Experience, live with Russ and Scott. And what an amazing Wednesday it's already started off to be. We just came off The Experience backstage, Scott, and always have fun with our good friend Shri, who makes us look good.
Yeah, she's got such great tips for video. Make sure people are following her, on Instagram, because all the time she's sharing great tips. There's new things that are happening all the time, and she digs into them and shares them. So your videos will be better.
Yeah, well, for sure. And we are definitely better together. I always promote that. I didn't come up with that term, but it is so true. And we are much better with Shri. We started this show now a little over 2 years ago, and we have so much fun. It's a quick hitter show in the morning. It's us prepping for this show and going over things, and Shri giving video tips. And sometimes, like this morning, it's overcoming technical challenges. It's all kinds of fun stuff going on, but the whole thing is you should join us there. It's on Instagram only, 6:30 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time every week. So much fun. So much fun. You got to be there, log in. We really got introduced to the Instagram live through Shri. She's the one that helped us get on there. That was a lot of fun. So Scott, what do you got going on this week?
Well, yesterday evening, I was able to speak to the Kentucky Inventors Group, thanks to our friend Leo York. That was just an amazing time. We probably had, I don't know, I know we had over 30 people there in the group, and just talking about marketing and branding for inventors. And I just went through a lot of the products that I've worked on and invented myself over the years. And it was a lot of fun. In fact, I got invited to speak to the Inventors Group in Tampa, Florida, although it'll be virtual. I wish they would say, hey, we need to have you in person, but
Well, you're amazing, Scott. And you have been a friend, a coach, a mentor to me, and are the driving force for why I'm doing a lot of what I'm doing today. After God and my beautiful wife, you are the person that pushed me towards the path that I'm on. So you're in good company there.
Remarkable skills.
Yeah.
In fact, the workshop that you do, turning cold calling into making friends,
Right.
is probably one of the most unique things that is out there, because everyone's got these tips and tricks and stuff, but you turn it into fun, and it works because you're living it.
Yeah. And, I just want to tell everybody, I do those occasionally online, but you can connect with me and me and Scott, but you can connect with me regarding that. I'm happy to do it for your team, for you individually. Yeah, there's a very minimal cost to that, and we'll work out something. Don't worry about that part of it. But I'm always happy to help people out as much as I can. And, this week for me, Scott, has had some super high moments, and it had a super low moment yesterday. But, we were talking about being focused and overcoming, because all of us in one way or another are going through things, right? And we need to be able to push through and persevere through. And, through my cancer battle and the things that came out of that, there's a lot of challenges that I come up against because of that. But I understand that all of you watching also have your big challenges and things going on. And I just want to encourage everybody today, while you're out there connecting, making friends, and building community, just keep on moving, stay focused, and just realize it's only one step at a time. Sometimes, like yesterday, when you can't do a lot, but you could do just that one next thing, just get one thing done. Don't focus on all the things you're supposed to do. Focus on that next one thing. And I tell you, I think, it'll make things amazing for all of you. So want to remind you all, we're here every Wednesday, 7 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time on The Experience Live with Russ and Scott, with amazing guests like our guests today, Melissa and Sue. They are amazing ladies. Have I told you that they're amazing ladies? We're excited to have them on.
We have the most remarkable people on the planet come on
We
to the
do.
experience every week. And I say let's get going, because that's the good part of the show.
Yeah, and I want to remind people, the experience is all about the experience of life and how individuals have made amazing things happen, and how they can push through and make just miraculous things come about because of their persistence, because of their intentional focus. And that's what the experience of life is all about. And so
Absolutely.
I want to get them on today, get things moving, because we want to hear what they're doing. We're going to get Melissa in the room, or I should say Dr. Melissa. First, she's a hound. She's awesome. Here she goes. Woohoo. Hey, Melissa.
Hey. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me on.
You bet. You bet. The hounds are showing up. They're showing up. And by the way, I want to say, all you hounds, be calling other hounds. All you friends, be calling other friends. Tag them, share, get it out there, because, I didn't tell everybody that at the beginning of the show, Melissa, that you should be tagging and sharing this, because people want to hear what's going on, and they should be letting people know. And just a quick point before I let you take it away, and that is, you can go to the experience.video to subscribe to our YouTube page today, and you should. You also can go to a great landing page that Scott created called the local.theexperience.video. It tells all about Scott and I and our shows, what's going on. And Melissa, I know that you're doing a ton of stuff. Tell us a little bit about, who is Dr. Melissa and what are you up to?
Well, I'm actually a reinvention of a reinvention, to put it, the Cliff Notes version. So I have become the empathy queen. The hounds have crowned me, and I'm trying to live up to it. Yeah, right. So what I do is I teach leaders how to leverage EQ through the use of empathy, because there just seems to be such a lack of it, especially in the upper echelons of corporate America. And from the research that I've done and the data that I've pulled, I think this is precisely why we have so much trouble with generational friction, with resenteeism, with coffee badging, with the Great Resignation, with all the stuff that's going on that just isn't working. And from everything I've studied and everything I've done, I really believe this is the way to fix a lot of it, if not all of it. So that's my mission. That's my purpose.
I love it. There's been a lot of talk about emotional intelligence and how it is so much more important than your IQ level, right? Your intelligence quotient. But what are the practical steps? People talk about it. So here you are to help us actually find, what do we do? How do we get better at using emotional intelligence?
Absolutely. Because that's the trick, right? I mean, it's nice to have, but if you can't use it, it doesn't do you any good. I say it's like exercise equipment, right? You can have a treadmill, you can have a weight set, but if you don't use any of it and you just leave it in your bedroom to throw your clothes on, then it actually isn't doing you any good. And empathy is the same way. So according to studies, statistically, 95 to 98% of the population has empathy in some form. So it's not a question of actually whether people have it or not. It's a question of teaching them how to use it, how to actually use it to create better innovation, more productivity, better revenue. The way to do that is to actually be able to connect with humans on a one-on-one basis. And the thing with empathy, the trick that can be difficult is you're doing this without taking responsibility for the other person. And you're doing this in a way that you're coming to them on their terms. A lot of people, when they try to connect with other people, they do it on their terms. This is how I feel. This is what I think. And then they're trying to fit the other person into that paradigm. Whereas the way I teach it, you're coming to them on their terms. You're understanding where they're coming from, what their struggles are, and why. And again, you're not taking responsibility for any of that. But through that connection, you create that human to human connection. Then at that point, you can create a human to group connection, like a lot of leaders need to do. And then you're actually able to make it actionable. Now you can tap into the EQ. So the way I explain, I call it EQ via empathy. And the way I explain it is that you are the leader. You're the one with the energy. You're the one with the spark. You're the one with the electricity. You're the one with the excitement. So you as the leader are potential energy behind a wall socket. Over in the corner over here is a computer. And on that computer are two really important databases. The first is the database of all of your people, all of their potential, all of their skills, everything that they can do. The second database is your emotional intelligence, your ability to communicate, your ability to understand, your ability to lead authentically. Well, if the wall socket's over here and the computer's over here, you've got to have something to connect those two, right? That's your power cord, and that's empathy. That's what allows you to connect that electricity to these two really important databases and lead effectively.
So I think this might be the first time we've ever had the empathy queen, the motivational listener, and the inspiration specialist all together at the same time. And I'm telling you, we are quite a dynamite package, everybody. And I want to tell you, Melissa, how much I love what you're talking about, because it's not about us. It's about connecting and having that empathy for others and understanding and learning and listening. And, you know, I just love when we get together and talk about these things. And this show is so amazing. But wait, we're not going to finish, because we still have Sue Tinnish coming on the stage. I had to get that in there. There we go. How's it going, Sue?
It's great. Happy to join you from the Midwest.
All right. We're so happy you joined us. You know, you both have such great big smiles, which makes my morning. And Sue, tell me a little bit, or tell us a little bit about you, and who is Sue? What are you up to?
Well, I'm sure you all know people who have been elevated to leadership positions, and yet they really realize that what got them there is not necessarily what is going to get them to the next step. So Melissa talked a lot about empathy, and that's certainly really important in a leadership skill set, but there's lots of other things that happen. And so what I do as a Vistage coach, and I also have my own private practice, is I work with leaders to help them really get to the next step. How are they going to grow their leadership skills and grow their leadership team, and also grow their own company?
Yeah, you know, I love that. Growing, right, Scott? I mean, we're always, if we're not growing, we're dying.
You know, I heard a great quote one time that said, a rut, and many of us on occasion will fall into that rut. But this guy described a rut as a grave with both ends kicked out.
Wow. Yes. Well, you know, I think, Sue, I love what you're all about and how you approach people. What is the number one thing as people are coming to you? What are you finding? You know, you talked about how empathy is important in anybody in business, things like that. What are you finding people are struggling with the most? You're really able to help them with?
I often find that people live within their own, obviously, framework and biases, and that's how we see the world. I mean, the world is really constructed by our own experiences and the way we see it. And so often it's very difficult for people to break out of that. I had a recent conversation with a client, and he was really concerned about one of his direct reports and how she was leading her team. And it was very interesting because he's a big believer of being in the office and face to face. And she isn't necessarily that way. And so through that coaching conversation, I was able to help him see that, his framework, his way of thinking that you had to be most effective as a leader may not be the only way to lead. That there could be a different way, and that possibly that this other person could be effective in a slightly different way. So I think it's not that we always think that we're right. It's just that it's hard to always see the world in a different way. And I think that's one thing that a coach can do, is give you that different perspective. Part of my practice is also having a peer group. So it's not just me necessarily that's always helping people, but it's really surrounding yourself with a group of people that are willing to call BS, call out your assumptions, call out your frameworks, maybe challenge your answers. And in that way, get you to think about a situation, a decision, a challenge, an opportunity in a slightly different way that you may not have done on your own.
Yeah, and I just want to say real quickly to that, Scott, and then I'll let you take it away. And that is different perspective, right? This is why we're better together. We can't see our own blind spots. We all have them. We need a different perspective. I was doing something the other day. I was getting Scott's opinion. I was getting my amazing teammate Ever's opinion. I went into my wife and a beautiful wife and daughter and asked them their opinion. Everybody had a little different twist on it because they were looking at it from different angles. And it really helps you to round out your thinking on where you're going to go with whatever you're going to do. And I think that's so important. And I love, people coming together and giving different perspectives. And I think that's true also, Melissa, with empathy, dealing with people. When we come together, maybe we're missing something that somebody needs empathetically wise, but somebody else jumps in with that perspective. Like in the Hounds, when we all come together, we're all able to come from different angles and come together.
Yeah. And that's actually the whole point, is that with empathy, you've opened up that lane of communication. So you can then contact your EQ skills so that you can pull in the other things that leaders need. So without that connection, now all you have is a barrier. It doesn't do anybody any good. And the nice thing about that connection is the traffic goes both ways. So a lot of times leaders will get in this rut where, because of the power position, they feel that they can't show weakness. They feel that they can't show that they don't always have all the answers. And they're not necessarily willing to reach out to the people that are there to be able to have that free flow of information. By putting that in place, you're now able to have a free flow of information. You're able to have a discourse. And it's exactly like you said in the beginning, we're all better together. So why not capitalize on that? Especially since it's something that most people already have. It's just a matter of learning how to use it.
There's some interesting research where if you take a jar and you fill it full of marbles, and I ask you, Russ, how many marbles are in there? You're going to get it wrong. But if you get enough people to come by at the state fair and guess what? You average those out and it's going to come up to the right number. It's just a crazy little thing, but it's just a beautiful example of how we're better together. And if we try to do things in isolation, we are going to get it wrong.
Yeah, definitely. Sue, I'm going to let you take this, but I want to just say that it is that collaboration, coming together spirit. And Melissa, you've been part of that with the Hounds. And Sue, I know you've been part of that with groups. I've been blessed to write 4 collaborative books over the last 8-9 months. I've been blessed to be able to work on projects. Scott and I collaborate together all the time on things. Actually, Scott just tells me what I should be doing, and I just listen usually. But anyway, yeah. But anyway, Sue, go ahead.
Well, I think it's so interesting what Melissa said about empathy, because really, if you approach a situation where you're going to be really curious, and so, Russ, you talk about being the motivational listener. If a person is a motivated listener and they approach a situation with a lot of curiosity, that I think really opens them up to being very empathetic. And so it's not necessarily about telling someone, my way's the right way, but it's really about understanding how they came to that decision, how they approached it, what they were thinking. And through that kind of conversation, managers can really become good coaches, can coach their people to better professional development by not necessarily thinking about assigning blame. I often talk about accountability as not necessarily being, pointing fingers or blame or shaming people, but just really that sense that I can count on you. That's a great way to think about accountability. And again, as Melissa's been talking about empathy, thinking this way really opens you up to having somebody also be willing to be more open and vulnerable and start that two-way conversation and really allow you to understand where a person's coming from, to then maybe be able to coach them to see things differently and see new options.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because coaching really, so many people look at it the wrong way. And what do I mean by that? They look at it like a coach is supposed to teach them everything they don't know, where truly a coach is pulling out of you what's inside of you, making you better. How many people think that Michael Jordan had no idea how to shoot the ball, pass the ball, or dribble the ball? If you do, then I'll talk to you later. But the truth is, he knew all those things, but he wanted to be better. Michael Jordan, the best in the world, had a coach. Tiger Woods, the best in the world, had a coach. They had spent more time practicing and being better at what they were doing than most. So that's where it all comes down when it comes, whether we're talking about empathy or whether we're talking about your business or whatever. It is all about listening to somebody with a good perspective and a different perspective to help you. And this is what I love about groups coming together, Melissa. I love about the Hounds, been able to just recently become part of this amazing group with Mike Asherbranner, who's an amazing young guy anyway, it's just been amazing to be able to do those kind of things. And I think it's the coming together that I love and listening to everybody else. By the way, Sue, I've got to give credit to Scott. He's actually the motivational listener. He motivates me, and then I spit it out, and I'm inspiring. So that's how we work.
He's the inspiration specialist. And this is the great thing about Russ, too, is that he's created a new term. There's many motivational speakers out there. Russ is the inspirational speaker. And everyone who knows him knows that's true, because you'll wake up in the morning and there's text messages or WhatsApp messages from Russ saying, hey, I'm just praying for you, let you know, I want you to have a good day.
That's true. And I love doing that, by the way. And anybody who wants to shoot me their WhatsApp or their text number, I'm always happy to stay in touch with people. I do appreciate that. Melissa, we definitely, and Sue, have to do that. But Melissa, back to you.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is when you're dealing with large groups like that and you can get that collaboration, the beauty of the whole thing is that the synergy ends up being exponential, right? The whole is greater than the sum of its parts kind of thing. And that's something that I see with the Hounds all the time in that with the collaborations and the people who come together and the people who work together, suddenly these things just explode. Mike Asherbranner, I don't know what goes on in his head sometimes, but it works. He's just got this way of seeing how people fit together and how we can all work together. And he's just phenomenal. I see Hounds in the audience. I saw Ollie, I saw Dee. So,
for the people who don't know who the Hounds of Business are, can you just give a quick overview of who are the Hounds of Business?
Absolutely. So it's kind of a think tank group. Honestly, it's Mike Asherbranner. Now, I've only been in it about 3 months. I haven't actually been in it that long, but he started this group. And what he wanted was to actually have a group for heart-centered entrepreneurs. And the irony of it is that the people I see in this group aren't heart-centered. They're heart-forward. That's how they move. That's how they go. And somehow he's managed to collect this group of people that all have this in common. And because of that, the think tank that's happened and the collaborations and the interactions is really phenomenal. And I know he's always looking for more heart forward entrepreneurs. So definitely hit him up on LinkedIn in his DMs and, if you're part of this community, we would love to have you.
Absolutely. And you, Melissa, you and I are both new members, and it is somebody I've watched Mike from afar, and he told me he watched me from afar. It's time people quit watching people from afar. I finally dove in, and Melissa dove in. You get together with groups like this, and it's amazing because I don't know two people like Mike Ashebrana and CJ, Dr. Constance Leland, who have zero ceiling, zero thoughts of things that are impossible. They are doing so many things. It blows my mind. I thought Scott completely blew my mind. They actually take it to a whole new level, like off the charts, like, are you completely crazy? But I love what you're doing type of off the charts. And so it's amazing to be around people like that, Sue, because they bring out the best in you, right?
Well, it's so interesting how our mind and our mindset and our own thoughts can limit what is possible for us.
Right.
I mean, we think that if we start to think about our thoughts as sort of separate, and we can look at them like distinctly as something that we are more in control of, than rather than us necessarily having them control our actions, really it does open up the world of possibilities. I think mindset is really, really important, and just thinking positively, surrounding yourself with positive people is critical to achieving your goals. I think it was interesting too how Melissa talked earlier about empathy and how people need to be open and vulnerable. I think really the definition of leadership and good leaders has really changed over time. Historically, if you go back and research, you think about, hierarchies and military as being those models, but that's no longer true. And there's lots of reasons for that. The world has changed a lot. Generational needs have changed, but really leaders can be much more effective if they're willing to be vulnerable and open. That means in a group like the Hounds, it means in multiple settings, Vistage groups, but it also means being open and authentic and being willing to be vulnerable and not necessarily and showing yourself that you can make mistakes too. If we want to have a culture of innovation in an organization, we have to be willing to accept that there's going to be mistakes.
Yeah.
That there are going to be failures, things that don't go perfectly well. And that can only happen if the leader is willing to say, I've made some mistakes.
Yeah, that is so spot on. Huge mic drop, huge point to everybody. You got to be willing to take a chance. You got to be willing to step out, show up in spite of not knowing everything, show up in spite of not being perfect. Hey, guess what? We're not all perfect. Guess what? We all need to work on things, right? If you don't feel like you got to work on anything and you feel like you've arrived, then we really need to talk. Then we really should be talking. But, today, as I am got to be the responsible host and start wrapping things up here, I want to give you both the last opportunity to give us your gold nuggets of today, that, just kind of your best point wrap up of this conversation, and let everybody know how to get in touch with you, because boy, I tell you, on the experience, we have amazing people with amazing experiences coming to us, blessing us with value and their time, like the two of you. And so we want to wrap this up with a nice little bow today. And we're going to start with you, Melissa, and let you go first.
Well, I think the big thing to really remember with empathy is that it's the thing that allows connection to happen, whether it's from leaders from the top down or from the bottom up, but that it's never something that makes you weak. People get this weird idea that it's puppies and rainbows and Care Bears and unicorns and all this fluffy stuff, and nothing could be further from the truth. In order to actually tap into that, you're going to see stuff you don't want to see, which means you have to keep a cool head and a warm heart, always. So anybody who wants to talk to me further on this, I'd be more than happy to help. And you can catch me at my website, which is eqviaempathy.com. You can DM me on LinkedIn. I have a YouTube channel where I discuss these topics 2 or 3 times a week. And I am always open to discuss how this can improve innovation, improve productivity, and best of all, actually improve profit. And I have the statistics to back this up. It's real.
Awesome. Definitely get in touch with Melissa, and all of her information just magically appeared below her. It is all clickable, everybody, in the comments, in the show notes. What does that mean? Click on it and you go right to her. Don't have to think about it. Don't have to figure things out. simple-minded people like me keep it real simple. That's what Mike and I have a lot in common. Very simple-minded, but really wanting to do big things. Well, just make it easy for people, and there you go. All right, Sue, you're up next.
I would say that asking for help is not really a sign of weakness. It's a sign of being more resourceful. So finding ways to get support in your life as a leader, as a person, as a parent is definitely something that you should invest in. It's investing in yourself and it's investing in the future. I just posted on LinkedIn today a post, and I cited an African proverb: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go further, go together. So you can
Awesome.
always find me on LinkedIn, just as Melissa said, DM me. My contact information there is below, and I'm always happy to support and help people. I publish a weekly newsletter that I think always contains some really valuable tidbits, things that you're not going to read everywhere, and that's free. And I'm happy to share my resources with my network. Thank you for allowing me to be part of today and the experience.
You bet. You bet. I think that's so critical. It's all about sharing, right? It's all about sharing and coming together. That is how true collaborative spirit happens. When we share, we make each other better, because I'm a firm believer that we rise together, right? And I know Scott and I are on the same path with this. We rise together. We don't rise by holding other people down as we're trying to make our way up. What that turns into is a train wreck. What we do is we all pull each other up, we rise together. And that is what these amazing collaborative groups are all about. And Scott, I'm going to let you have the last word before we say goodbye to our guest today. But I just think this has been an amazing conversation.
Yeah, I'm just going to tell people that groups like the Hounds of Business, you need to find the one that fits for you and try it out. Go visit the Hounds of Business, get to know the folks. One of the things that's impressed me about this particular group, this community, is how they show up for each other. And that's just a great testimony to the heart that's in that group. And don't go it alone. The phrase I like to quote is, surround yourself with those who will not let you fail.
Amen to that. Amen to that. And you know what? I couldn't agree more about the Hounds, and something that Scott began that I'm part of, that I started the month before COVID hit. It's called the Global Tea Break, everybody. And if you're not part of that, you need to be part of that group as well. Again, a group that doesn't cost anything to be involved with, a group of amazing thought leaders and great, just amazing people around the world. It's called the Global Tea Break. You can go to globalteabreak.com for that. These are things, like Scott said, that you should check out, that you should find a group that really works for you, or in my case, a few groups that work good for you, whatever works out. So anyway, with that, hey, Sue and Melissa, we're going to say goodbye to you for today, but hang tight in the green room because we want to say something to you before you go. But thanks so much for being here and adding so much amazing value.
It's my pleasure, our pleasure, I'm sure, right, Sue?
Exactly.
So great.
All right.
So
See you in a minute.
Woo. Every
Oh,
week we
thanks.
have the most remarkable people on the planet, and today Sue and Melissa are representing well.
They are. And again, everybody, the experience Live with Russ and Scott is all about the experience of life. It's about coming together with a collaborative spirit and learning and growing from the value of others and working with each other. And that is what we give you every week here on the Experience Live with Russ and Scott. It is a moment that is always a blessing for me. It is a moment that can be a blessing for you and your friends if you continue to share the information with them, because not everybody knows what's going on. So don't forget, there's easy ways to get in touch with us. And I'm going to tell you what those are. And the first one is a great landing page that Scott put together called local.theexperience.video that gets you not only to Scott's and my information and the books we wrote, or at least a couple of them, but also to our YouTube pages and information about everything that's going on. And the experience.video is our YouTube landing page for this show. So go to the experience.video today. And I encourage our guests and anybody else that is not subscribed, please do that. Also, I would encourage you to go to marketingwithruss.live or russreels.live, which both of them take you straight to my YouTube page. Love for you to subscribe on that. And Scott, what's your YouTube page again?
Well, the easiest thing to do is to go to local.theexperience.video and links to your YouTube page, the Experience YouTube page, my YouTube, LinkedIn, books. You can watch everything right there, local.theexperience.video, and you can connect with us. And we would love to hear from you and learn what's going on in your world.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. And, this is the thing. It costs you nothing to go to local.theexperience.video. And did we tell you that you can find out more information about Scott and I if you go to local.theexperience.video? Did we tell you that? Did we tell you that if you give us your YouTube pages, we will subscribe and invest in you if you subscribe and invest in us? We appreciate that. It's a two-way street. And so I'm redundant, but it's true. And we are thankful for all of you being here. So don't forget, we're here at 7 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time every week for your viewing and listening pleasure. In fact, yes, listening, after it goes live, it stays on the platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, becomes a video podcast for, say it with me, Scott, infinity and beyond. There you go.
Beyond. Yeah, there we go.
And,
all right.
And after that, it converts to audio podcasts. You can listen to it on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, whatever your favorite podcast platform is. So if you don't have time to watch, you can listen. And with that, I got to wrap things up. But I'm so thankful that you're here today, Scott. I'm always so blessed every moment that we spend together. I appreciate you more than you know. Thank you.
Fun to hang out together, and I'm glad we got to have coffee in 3D last week at a brand new coffee shop for us. And,
yes,
a great place.
I love it. We'll tell you more about that great coffee shop on another show. But until then, I just want to thank you all for being here. Don't forget to join us next week, first at 6:30 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time on The Experience Backstage on Instagram, then here on The Experience Live with Russ and Scott on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube at 7 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And until we see you again, have a great day and a great life, and
enjoy the experience.
Woohoo!
Thanks for tuning in to The Experience Live with Russ and Scott. If you enjoyed today's show, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or subscribe on YouTube. See you next time.